welcome to another episode of The Latest with Maya. Today, I am very excited to be having a conversation with Noe Jacobson and Julian Horowitz from the group The Maccabeats. Thank you guys so much for being here with me. I am so excited to be talking with you.
We're
Thank you.
excited too.
Likewise.
Um, so let's get started. I love all of your music. I've been a fan of yours forever. Um, where do you find inspiration for your songs?
Noe, why don't you take this one? You were kind of the creative mind behind our most recent songs. Maybe you could talk about that, or any of our songs over the
Yeah,
last decade
sure.
or so.
Yeah, the inspiration for the songs is different. It evolves. I think one source of inspiration for a lot of our songs are parodies of popular songs on the radio. We do sort of a Jewish holiday twist on it. So, going all over the country, performing for crowds, seeing how children and children at heart sort of get excited to have a Hanukkah anthem, a holiday song, a Purim song, something for them, a feeling represented in holiday music, an exciting song that celebrates their heritage. That's the inspiration for a lot of our songs. Is just keeping to supplying that positive holiday spirit, that pride in your heritage. That's sort of our run of the mill. But inspiration can come from different places as well. So as Julian mentioned, our most recent song, this past Hanukkah, was an original song that was actually quite different than what we usually do. A little bit more serious in nature, and a song that's about hope and resilience during dark times, and with everything going on in the world, it is a little bit of a scary time. The inspiration for that song was sending that message of staying strong and weathering adversity. So, as the group has evolved, we draw inspiration from different kinds of moments, like kind of trying to meet the need of that current moment. So, that's how I think about inspiration for our songs.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love your new song. I when it first came out and I watched the music video, I was just sobbing the whole time. And it's so powerful and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a bit of a departure for us. As I said, most of our music is not original music. We have a few original songs, but I think, we got to that moment about a month and a half before Hanukkah, which is when we usually start to get our act together and come up with a song for the holiday. And a lot of the guys, whereas before they might be very inspired and throwing around ideas, it was just we didn't quite have the energy for that same sort of thing. It didn't
Yeah.
feel like this year we could find that same inspiration as you mentioned before. And then we had this unbelievable opportunity to perform at a rally in Washington. There were 300,000 people there. We'd never sung for so many people. It was an electric moment. And I think we came back from that. This is right before Hanukkah, really. We came back from that and said, we have to do something in this moment. We have a responsibility and a drive to say something, to sing something in this moment. And that's really where the inspiration for writing an original song and writing a song, that was right for that moment came from. So it came together quickly, but we were really happy with the results.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Um, so is there a song of yours that is your favorite?
It's like asking us to choose between our children. I mean, that's
Yeah.
I'll give two answers. My favorite music video that we produced was probably about 5-6 years ago. We did a retrospective of our first 10 years called Candles on the Sill. And just the sheer nostalgia of the music and the video, and we found footage of ourselves from our early years. It gets me every time. It absolutely destroys me. And then I think my favorite live song to perform is our Lecha Dodi, which was in many ways our first song, and it's a song that's carried us through the years. We've done it at pretty much every one of our shows. And it's it's a haunting modern day classic melody. We use the Hallelujah melody with combined with a lyrical poem that's 500, 600, 700 years old that in the Jewish tradition is recited every Friday night. And it's a powerful moment in every single one of our shows. Even for those who don't speak or understand Hebrew, I think it's a powerful moment of connection in every concert.
Yeah, I'll just add, the song that kicked, for those in your audience who aren't familiar with us, I think the song that really kicked us off was the Candlelight song. It came out in 2010. It was a parody of Tayo Cruz's Dynamite. And it went super viral, I think, as like 16 or 17 million views at this point. It was never my favorite song. It's kind of kitschy and repetitive. And I think this year we did 10 shows in 8 days. It was kind of crazy. And I could tell you that in 2010, when that song came out and we first became super popular, I would never have guessed that, 13 years later or whatever it is, we'd still be at this. Everyone thought it would be a year or two, we'd ride the wave and it'd be over. And here we are all this time later, still performing, still doing 10 shows over Hanukkah. And this year in particular, we were singing that song and we ended on every single show and watching young people and old people getting really excited and jumping up and down and singing the words. I had a new appreciation for it. It's like, wow, this is so cool. Like, I think we got super lucky. Like, we hit at a certain time when, it was just right for the moment. But that song has sort of become a staple. It's become a part of people's childhood. It's become something that is like part of the fabric of the Jewish experience and the Hanukkah experience. So like they went from me being like, it's kitschy, it's corny, to like, you know what, it's actually very cool and I'm very proud of it. And so I'm gonna put Candlelight back on top as the all-time favorite song in its rightful place.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So is there a song either of yours or someone else's that always brings a tear to your eye?
I have I guess
question.
2 answers to that. It's a great question. I think one song that's been on our back burner basically since day one. I don't know why we never got around to recording it. We sing it on rare occasion, kind of casually, as Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. It's just a Jerusalem of Gold in English. It's just a classic Israeli song, and the story of the song itself, it was written as a song of longing for the return to Jerusalem, I think in the 60s, and then a final verse was added after the 67 war, when there was a return to Jerusalem. And just knowing that the story itself has a kind of song and expresses thousands of years of Jewish longing. And I think it also cuts across all boundaries. Everybody loves that song. So that's number one. And then in English, I don't know. I think the perfect song of the last 20 years, Noah, you can disagree with me, and I've said this at like a bunch of Q&As and stuff, is Snow Patrol's Chasing Cars. I think, I mean, Grey's Anatomy aside, it just, yeah, I've heard that it's the most played song in radio history, so it's a little overdone, but it's just very well crafted. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are good ones. I would say, not to be redundant, but again, at that rally that we were at, we sang a bunch of songs. We sang One Day with Matisyahu, which was really cool. He came on stage with us and we performed several songs, but there was one song, and Julian describes it this way, that we didn't perform. We sort of melded into the crowd and sang really with the crowd, and that was Achenu, which is a beautiful song written originally by A.B. Rottenberg, who's a very legendary Jewish composer, and it's a song, Achenu Kol Beit Yisrael, about all the brothers and sisters in Israel who are in dire straits, and it's just like the melody is haunting and beautiful, and something about that song, it's like every kumsitz, which is like, when people come and sing together, slow, meaningful songs, Achenu, that song is like always the song. For some reason, when people sing it together, it's so evocative, it's so stirring, it's so beautiful. And to stand again on a stage on the National Mall with, you know, you could see the monuments and the Capitol building, and to sing not at a crowd of 300,000 people, but truly with a crowd of 300,000 people, channeling the energy of that song, focused on the song and the words and what they mean. I mean, my mother called me after that whole experience, and she had seen it on a live stream. Oh no, she was there actually. She was there in the crowd. Um, and she said, I think the whole Maccabeats thing, like, you know, starting that group at YU and the candlelight video and doing Today's Show and going to the White House and this whole experience, I feel like the whole thing was leading to that exact moment where you were standing with those people singing Achenu Kol Beit Yisrael. And the more I think on that, the more I agree with her that there was something just totally incredible. I don't think I cried in the moment per se, but I think I held it together enough to you know, lead the crowd in that song. But just I think I'll be telling my grandkids, you know, about that moment. So that's a big one.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, for me, I really any song by Ben Platt can either
Hmm.
make me cry or like I will either be crying to it or I will be like singing along. And so he is like one of my all-time favorite singers and artists. So anything by him.
Yeah, he's
Yes,
great.
we are big Ben Platt fans.
Yeah. Yeah. Um Yeah, I think it's pretty hard not to be a fan of his.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
I
Um
think it's especially meaningful to us as part of the wave. I know we mentioned earlier we were in kind of a right place, right time. So before he was Evan Hansen, Ben Platt, I don't remember the name of his character. I think it was also Ben, was in the Pitch Perfect movies. And that was
yeah,
like, we kind of hit the scene around the same time as those movies and
yeah,
Pentatonics and the Sing Off, you know, so he was part of that wave that I think really
yeah,
helped get us started. So I guess we have a little bit of,
yeah,
not only is he an amazing singer, but we also have a
yeah,
little bit of gratitude to him for being part of
yeah,
that wave and that movement.
yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Um so do you have a specific songwriting process or any rituals you do before writing a song?
Well, I guess Noe can speak specifically about the most recent song, which he really spearheaded the process of writing. But I'll say that every project that we've done kind of has a different path from point A to B. We'll occasionally bring in outside professional Jewish parody songwriters, which yes is a real thing, to help us write our music. Sometimes it'll be an idea that one of the guys has while riding on the bus. Other times we'll all meet in a Starbucks and pound something out. Um, but inspiration comes from a lot of different places, so it's kind of hard to describe our songwriting process. I mean, if you know, if I was able to distill into words exactly how we do what we do, then I, you know, would have written a book and retired a long time ago. But maybe, yeah, Noe, maybe you could speak specifically about the most recent song.
Yeah, maybe something I'd highlight about that, just a particular aspect of it, is we really are the beneficiaries of technology. So that's true in a general sense. Like, there were people who did kind of what we did, sort of like Jewish parody, Jewish modern music before the age of YouTube. And one of the parts of the Maccabee story that kind of explains the reach we were able to had is that we came up during the YouTube revolution, where all of a sudden we could leverage that technology to have our music be played all over the world. And that's why we've been able to do shows in South Africa, New Zealand, and Italy, and really all over the world. In addition to that, I think it's also the creative process that, you know, we started in YU, we were all students in YU. We would meet weekly in one of the classrooms in Yeshiva University, and some of our creative process would happen in person. But since then, you know, people have moved to different parts of New York City, different parts of the country, different coasts, some in LA, some in New York, some all over the world. Now layer on top of that the pandemic, right? Where all of a sudden we weren't even getting together in person if we wanted to. And yet through the pandemic and through all of that, through all of us moving different areas, we've been able to stay creative. And that's by like leveraging these amazing technological tools of, you know, Zoom meetings and exchanging voice notes and WhatsApp groups and, you know, just recording equipment. Every guy in the Maccabee getting their own recording equipment and recording our parts separately and then putting it together. It's kind of cool. It's kind of amazing. And to that end, you know, Julian was alluding to this last song. It started with a musical concept that I had, and then sending a WhatsApp voice note. Oh, what do you think about that? Oh, great, I love that lyric. That melody is not so catchy. What if we did it this way? What if we did it that way? Trading voice notes, trading musical ideas. You know, other than Julian, I think stopping into my house at the beginning of the process, and we're in the basement messing around on the piano a little bit. It kind of came together this interesting, you know, voice note trading technological ether space, which is really cool. I just think, you know, even on the level of recording, used to be you'd have to go into a recording studio and it's a very official thing. Now we can record like from our basements with our you know, recording equipment and compile everything after the fact. So I think just to bottom line it, I think our creative process has been able to flourish even as we're sort of in very different places and have very busy schedules using these really cool technological tools. And that's how the last song really was able to come about.
Maya, can I ask? Have you gotten any really compelling answers from other? We're always looking for pointers from other musicians for this question, the songwriting process. I mean, anything interesting that you want to share? Sorry for interviewing you, but you know, might as well take advantage.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. There have been a lot of interesting answers, just like whether it's like something going on in their life or like hearing, you know, a melody, like first some of them coming up with the melody and then lyrics, or so there have been a lot of interesting answers.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
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 Very cool.
Yeah. So, who or what do you find to be the biggest challenge with creating music in the age of social media?
It's a good question.
Very good question. Yeah, I gotta think about that one.
I'll take a stab. I'll take a stab. You'll tell me if this is something. If not, we'll as musicians say, we'll fix it in post. Uh, I think for me, it and just to reframe the question, the biggest challenge of creating music for me, and I know other artists are different. Other artists have this backlog of material that they want to do, and not enough time in their day, their week, their month, their lives to produce it all. Some authors are that way, creatives. My problem has always been that when we finish a project, there's this tremendous pressure. And I don't know if this is specifically a product of the social media age, but it's definitely accelerated to start immediately working on something else to stay relevant. And you can't really enjoy the moment, and you know, live in the creative process that you've already worked on. You already, as soon as you hit upload on that YouTube video, you already have to be working on the next one. You know, content. So that could be a little stifling, I think. You know, I know a lot of artists, they'll only really release 1, 2, 3, 4 albums in their lifetimes. But I think the social media age really lends itself to just constantly be putting yourself out there. I mean, yesterday, what were we working on? Something so simple. We were doing like an Instagram reel of highlights of our Hanukkah show. And it was a lot of fun to work on. But like, again, that's a very much a social media age thing that you have to do. You have to just constantly be producing reels, or the algorithm will punish you and you know, move on to the next big thing.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I agree with much of what Julian has said. I think historically there was a tension in the group between wanting to do more music videos, which are like some sort of like this low-hanging fruit where you can put something out and get a lot of, traction online, and versus doing another album, which is kind of more of like the musicians in us want to put out the album, because then you could do more songs and you can really focus on the track, and you can do things that wouldn't necessarily make for a great YouTube video. Like parody videos for holidays go super viral. Just a beautiful song on an album may not have viral potential, but it's still valuable because we're musicians and we love to make beautiful music. And there's always that tension. I have to admit, for myself personally, I was always on the group leaning towards the YouTube videos over the other guys in the group were like, no, let's like make a nice album with beautiful music. And I was always like, we could do that, or we could just do another video where it gets so much traction. And right, so there's that tension. And that's definitely a product of the social media age. And now it's like what the album was is now what the YouTube video is, because with all the effort it takes to make one YouTube video where you put in all this work into the production and filming, and you could do 20 Instagram reels, or so the content is getting shorter and shorter, and that's much more the currency of what people care about, is that you want to see a lot of content, not necessarily quality but quantity. And I think, to give you a peek into how the Maccabeats are thinking about the future, I think that there is a conversation around that. Like, do we change our model to sort of go away from these 2 or 3 YouTube videos a year that are very, very produced, to something where we can put out, just more quantity of content? And there's some resistance to that in the group, and we're trying to navigate that. But it's what a great question that helped me, even for myself, think about that unique challenge.
I'll add one footnote, which is, and this is directly directly addressed to Mr. Zuckerberg's complaints department, is that our music, we when we produced our most recent music video, we produced both horizontal and, of course, vertical versions, so that we could take the YouTube product that we produced and put it on Instagram and TikTok. And when I went and listened back, specifically Instagram really mangled the audio. So like we poured our hearts and souls and our dollars, I should say, into making like a great sounding track. And then we put it on Instagram, and like their algorithms just destroyed it. At least compared to like when you go buy the track on Apple Music or Spotify or something. So yet another challenge, just because you have to weigh their priority. They're not prioritizing good audio quality, high fidelity. And that's something that's important to us as musicians. So we're just living in their world at the end of the day. So it's tricky.
Yeah. Social media can be really stressful. So,
Amen.
Yeah. I have like really noticed that recently when trying to post something. I'm just like, I want to give this to somebody else and have them do it, so I don't have to think about it.
I totally get it.
Yeah. So who has had the biggest impact on you professionally, and who has had the biggest impact on you as a person?
Wow, that is a great question.
Thank you.
Julian,
you got this first, so I can think while you're talking. Pay attention to what you're saying.
I know your tricks. Biggest impact on me professionally. I can do a category. That's what's so fun about being interviewed, is that, they ask you a question, and you can answer whatever you want, right? So I'm gonna kind of shift the question. We're very fortunate to be part of a very friendly, very accessible, very talented group of a cappella music arrangers, producers, mixers, engineers. And some of them travel with us to our shows. Some of them work on our music and recordings. So when you think of the Maccabeat sound, which we've developed over the last decade, that's really their sound. And they're just, we would be nothing without them, because we barely know how to turn our computers and microphones on, and these guys take what we record and, again, in my opinion, turn it into liquid gold. So they've certainly professionally had a huge impact on us. Just to name a few, they know who they are, but Ed and Bill and of course Mike, who introduced us to that whole world. These are all acapella producers and engineers. So they've definitely had a huge impact on the medium with which we present ourselves to the world. And likewise, we've worked with amazing video teams over the years. So again, the medium that we're here now, you're watching me through my terrible quality webcam. This would never exist, as the Maccabeats would not exist if we were, charged with presenting ourselves visually to the world. So we've had, so I'm going to answer all the professionals and semi-professionals that we've worked with over the years who've helped us present ourselves to the world. They've had a tremendous impact on us. And in many senses, they're unsung. You sometimes see their names in the descriptions of the YouTube videos, but they're heroes to us. Absolutely.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, you gave me just enough time to think about my answer.
Yeah.
And I'll kind of meld the professional and the personal. And what's interesting also, maybe for your audience, is that nearly all the Maccabeats don't do this full time. We kind of all have other gigs. So we have lawyers, we have doctors, we have everything in between. So I'll draw a bit from my non-Maccabee, non-musician life. And I had a former boss who I absolutely love, and something about her that always struck me was that she kind of would like make proposals to clients that, in theory or on the surface, her business had no business winning that account or that client. But she took those swings. She just took those swings. She was like, you know what? I'm gonna put myself out there. I'm gonna put my best foot forward. And sometimes she wouldn't win the business. Sometimes she would. But I kept seeing her doing that and realized, like, when you do that, when you take a swing, when you put yourself out there, when you put it on the line, when you put the irons in the fire, insert metaphor here, like good stuff happens.
Man in the arena.
Yeah, man in the arena. When you're a man or a woman in the arena, it won't work out 100% of the time, but it'll work out more than you expect. And that's a big lesson that I think in Maccabees as well that really transfers over. Like, take this last song, for instance. Like, I don't know, it was late in the game. Original song, we don't really do original songs. Like, there's plenty of reasons to be like, nah, forget it. But something about the moment, maybe it was the rally, as I mentioned, we're like, you know what? Nah, let's do it. Let's go for it. Whatever. Let's put it out there. And then you put it out there, and all of a sudden there's this great response. Like, it was just like hundreds of comments of people who said they cried watching it, and it meant so much to them, and this great thing happened. Now, that's not the reason why it should have been done. Maybe we put it out there and it didn't happen. That would have been okay too. But I think this person inspired me and continues to inspire me, and I continue to see it as an important lesson in life, that life's too short. You got to like take those swings. Got to be in the arena and see what happens. And I try to remind myself of that as much as possible.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned being a lawyer, and that that's like one of the things, one of my other passions. I think in an alternate universe I'd want to be a lawyer. Like, I think that stuff is so interesting.
Yeah, lots of lawyers in my family, so if you ever want to talk with someone, I'm happy to put you in touch.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I would love that. So of all that you have accomplished so far, is there something that you're the most proud of?
Again, are we allowed to say my children? Is that that's the stock answer, right? It's the stock answer. I'll do that with a little bit of a footnote. We did a big concert in New Jersey on Hanukkah. And we don't really listen to a lot of our music at my house. That would be kind of lame. We listen to a lot of music, but not Maccabeats in particular. But I remember my son, who's 4 years old, during that encore of the Candlelight song, Noe mentioned we did it every single one of our shows on Hanukkah. He ran up to the front of the audience, and he just stood there screaming along to every word. Yeah, and it was just a precious moment. I didn't even know he knew the words, but I guess he learned it in school or from his friends or something. And I couldn't take my eyes off him. I couldn't take my eyes off him. It was so it combined pride in our music and in my children as well. So it was a very special moment for me.
Oh, I love that.
That's a great one. I'm gonna let you have the last word on that one. That was perfect.
Yeah.
And I also had a few moments over Hanukkah. I have a 4-year-old daughter who's now just of the age where she kind of is getting into the Maccabeats. So over Hanukkah, I dragged her to 7 shows. She was on stage frequently. She loved it. And similar to Julian, it was a very cool moment. Very cool.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, I love that. Um, so what is something people are always surprised to learn about you?
I think
These are
one thing that always,
hard hitting questions. I love it.
yeah. No, that's a good one. This is kind of a silly one, but um, most people are usually surprised by how tall we are because Jews are, not typically on the taller side, and like the average height of the Maccabeats like must be like 5'11" or something. Um, I don't know. Like I've gotten that comment like many times over the years where we'll show up to a city, we'll show up to Dayton, Ohio for a concert and at the local Jewish community center or a synagogue or something. I'll be like, wow, you guys are really tall. I'll be like, okay, if you say so.
Yeah.
So it's not really, fundamental, but it is true, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a good one. What are people surprised to learn about us? I think just going back to something we just spoke about, I think a lot of people assume that we do this full time. Like I get that a lot when we're at concerts, and they're very surprised to learn that we all have jobs, we have families, we have this, like so many other responsibilities. And I think that's a testament to like it's just a little ridiculous. Like we have so much on our plates professionally otherwise, and then we're still flying out on red-eye flights to San Francisco to do a show to come back Monday morning. Like it's a lot, and sometimes our partners are not so thrilled with us, but we weather that because we just love it. We just love it, and we're so amazed that there are still people that want to listen to our music and find it so meaningful. So we sort of push through the inconveniences of that, and we just make it happen. We find a way to make it happen. um but yeah, people are surprised. They just assume like this is what must be what you do full time, but it's really not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Um, so what song best describes your life right now?
Ooh. You got to send us the questions in advance next time. These are I need the answer key. I need the answer key for this test.
Yeah.
That is
Let's
a
see.
really good one.
Hmm.
I think it's so funny. You sing songs, and I'm not picking from any song ever. I'm picking kind of from our catalog. It's a little easier to narrow it down in that context. There are songs that you sing, and we've been singing. Like there's songs that are new to our set list that we add, and there's songs that are kind of always on our set list. They have been for 13, 14 years, and I feel like, Julian, correct me if I'm wrong, they always will be. And one of those songs, for instance, is One Day by Matisyahu. Like we were singing that 12, 13 years ago, and we sang it at our concert 2 days ago. And to me, right now, that song is really resonating of like things look a little bleak, and little is an understatement, but there's just like persistent hope of like one day, one day, one day, like one day things will change. One day we'll treat people the same. Like there's these lyrics from the song, down with the violence. Like, it's just amazing how it meant something when we first sang it. It meant something different along the way, and now it means something even more poignant. And it's kind of an interesting experience to sing those songs at different junctures and see how the message evolves. And right now, to me, that is the role of this group right now in this moment and we're seeing it. We're seeing it with the recent song that we released and with these shows that like people need that hope in difficult times. They need that ray of sunshine. They need that North Star. They need that. And if our music can provide a little bit of that, then I'm not being naive to think that an a cappella group is going to make a difference on a geopolitical scale. But in a small way, if people get some respite from a difficult time and can come back to the well and draw some strength and energy through our music, then that's a tremendously important thing. And despite the fact that we're have a lot of responsibilities and things going on, I think that's where the inspiration comes from us to keep going, to keep doing the music, to keep doing the shows, to play our small role in that way.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So I just have a few more questions if that works for you. So I am pop culture obsessed, and I go in stages of shows that I cannot stop watching. Is there a show that you're currently obsessed with?
Great question.
We've been talking about The Bear a lot recently.
Yeah, The Bear's really good.
Bear's good. There's this I mentioned to the guys that there's this scene towards the end of the first season of The Bear where they leave on their pre-ordering, and then there's also a favorable review in a restaurant, and then they open the restaurant and the machine just starts spitting out orders, hundreds of orders a day, and there's just a complete meltdown in the kitchen. And to me, that I told the guys that was reminiscent of Hanukkah 2010, where we released the Candlelight song a week before Hanukkah, and then our lives just got completely upturned. We had hundreds and hundreds of emails from people all over the world looking to contact us, to get us to different places. We were playing phone tag. Like we missed calls from like the producers of the Tonight Show. Like voicemail boxes didn't take any more messages. We were full. We didn't have any infrastructure. We were just a bunch of college kids at that point. We didn't have any kind of infrastructure or employees or even like a bank account to like all of a sudden deal with hundreds of booking requests. I mean, we had probably up until that point done a total of like 5 paid shows. And just on Hanukkah, we were being shuttled from morning shows to evening shows and just being sent cars and waking up at all odd hours of the day. So yeah, I was pretty obsessed with that scene in The Bear, but I made it about me somehow.
That was great. I have nothing to add on that. That was perfect. That was a great answer.
Yeah. So what small things bring you joy on a daily basis?
I mean, I'm a coffee nut. I love coffee. Especially over the pandemic, I learned how to really make it well. Now I can't even go to, I'm snobby about it. I can't even go to a coffee shop and enjoy coffee anymore because I grind the beans and I I have the special water thing and I weigh the beans and but it's so that morning coffee is like a special moment. But I think there's something like profound about that. It's like, you know, you run around this life, you're ambitious, you try to do things, you try to succeed in your career. The Maccabeats experience has delivered some like surreal moments, all the way from performing for the president in the White House to, like we just mentioned, performing at the rally for 300,000 people. But you can't and sorry if I get a little philosophical here, but if you try to live from like big moment to big moment, you're bound to be let down, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're just waiting for the next big moment, and we're lucky to have experienced some like surreal big moments, which are great. My philosophy is it can't be about the big moments. You have to find like the little things that you can really enjoy. So like a cup of coffee in the morning. My daughter comes down in the morning and we sit there and she has cereal and I'm having my coffee and you're looking out. Maybe there's some snow on the ground or the sunshine's coming in the window and like
Yeah.
that's what it's about. And those are very grounding little things that are super super important, especially if you're running around trying to accomplish big things in the world. It's also important to have those small things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also the Jewish tradition, I think, peppers Jewish ritual, Jewish observance peppers your day with exactly that kind of ritual, whether it's tzitzit or prayer or blessings before food, blessings after food, that kind of thing. It almost like instills a little bit of mindfulness into even the most mundane things. So before Noe mentioned his coffee, I was going to say my morning egg and cheese. But to steer away from the hedonism, I'd say maybe the again, that little bit of mindfulness, the blessing before the food and after, little things like that really kind of bring meaning to your day.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I've always I mean my mom has like taught me and my sister it's, finding joy in the, little things and in the hard times, and so I'm all about finding small
Mm.
things that just bring joy. Um, so I love inspiring and motivational quotes. And this week, my favorite quotation is your superpower is knowing your talent, your ability, and your worth, and that you don't need any actual superpowers. Um, is there a quotation that has inspired you lately?
Yeah, I'll take this one, Noah. I'll give you another chance to think. Um, I'm gonna mangle the quote, but I like to tell myself that I aspire to the Lily Tomlin school of life philosophy and action. I think it's a Lily Tomlin quote, which is strange because she's kind of this oddball actress comedian. But it goes something like, when you see something in life and you say something like, why isn't somebody doing something about that? Be that somebody. Again, you could look it up afterwards, fix it in post and put it on the screen
Yeah.
what the actual quote is.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a more direct version of be the change you want to see in the world. Like step up, whatever it is. That's always gotten to me. And I think I think we'd all be a lot better if everyone kind of looked at every time there was something wrong, they looked at how they could contribute to making it right.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I'll let you have the last word on that one. I like that one too. I'm stealing that for my own.
Okay.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Well, it was so much fun talking with you both. You have just made my day, and I so appreciate your taking the time to join me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. I know it's no, Gutenberg on Broadway, but if we are ever in the same place doing a show, we'd love for you to come to the show as our guest. Maybe next time we're in Denver or next time you're in New York. So yeah, definitely if you see us around, for sure, you have our contact info. We'd love to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, I would love to see you guys live. I have I keep looking at whenever you guys announce dates to see if there's ever a Denver show. So
I think we were
We're
there
gonna make
right
it happen.
before. Yeah, we're gonna make it out. I think we were there right before the pandemic, so we're due for another visit. We're due for
yeah.
another visit.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much again for joining me. And that's a wrap on today's edition of The Latest with Maya.